Welcome, brave souls who linger in the twilight shadows, to the shadow behind you, where the hidden pages of history unfurl their tendrils of terror. Here, we unearth the buried tales of bloodlines severed by fate's cruel hand, institutions trapped in endless curses, and families that vanish into the void, leaving only echoes of anguish. I am your unseen guide, the whisper in the darkness beckoning you through these mazes of dread. Tonight, we venture deep into the twisted heart of the Ozark Mountains, that ancient expanse of jagged peaks and hidden valleys where in 1895 an entire clan was swallowed by oblivion. The Lost Hollow Clan, their name now a forbidden murmur, their existence erased from records, as if they were fleeting phantoms born of delirium. Picture, if you dare, the Ozarks in that fateful year, a wild realm of towering, gnarled oaks and pines clawing at the sky, their branches entwined like bony fingers in prayer or panic. The air is thick, heavy with the scent of mossy earth, wild ferns, and the faint, metallic tang of hidden springs bubbling from deep fissures. Fog creeps in like a living creature, coiling around trunks, muffling sounds until every rustle could be a footstep, every breeze a ghostly breath. Rivers carve through stone like veins of a colossal, sleeping beast, and the nights pulse with owl calls that sound almost human, almost pleading. This is a land where the line between the living and the spectral blurs, where settlers spoke softly of haints, restless spirits roaming the ridges, their shapes vague, their intentions sinister. And in one such forsaken hollow, Lost Hollow, the clan stood against the encroaching world. Or so they believed. The year 1895 marked a turning point for America, the end of the wild frontier, the hum of industry echoing from far-off cities, railroads stitching the nation like threads closing a wound. Yet in the Ozarks, time stood still, trapped in the valleys like water in a basin. The Lost Hollow clan, some 30 resilient souls, were descendants of pioneers who fled the East's suffocating grip in the early 1800s, seeking refuge in this isolated valley. Ringed by steep cliffs rising like walls of judgment, the hollow was a natural fortress, reached only by a narrow, treacherous path winding through thorns and boulders. They were farmers, healers, storytellers, self-sufficient, bound by blood and secrecy. Leading them was Elias Hawthorne, a man of unyielding resolve, his eyes sharp as flint, his presence commanding as the mountains themselves. His kin lived in harmony with the land, or so it seemed, trading rarely with outsiders in towns like Mountain View or Jasper, where rumors spread like festering wounds. Whispers in those taverns painted the clan as strange gatherings under moonlight, chants carried on the wind, lights dancing in the hollow long past midnight. Some claimed they communed with ancient spirits, remnants of native tribes displaced by progress's relentless march. Others spoke of darker pacts, blood oaths with the earth to ensure bountiful harvests. But no outsider dared verify these tales. The path to Lost Hollow was said to be guarded, those who trespassed emerging changed, their minds fractured by visions of what lurked below. The clan's disappearance that autumn was no simple migration or tragedy. It was an obliteration so complete that maps were redrawn, census records wiped clean, even the weathered tombstones in their burial ground faded to blank stone, as if the very elements conspired to forget them. What malevolent force orchestrated this? A natural disaster, flood or fire, conveniently erasing all trace, a plague devouring flesh and memory alike, or something far darker, a curse woven from stolen land and unspoken sins, a shadow feeding on their isolation until nothing remained but emptiness. As we begin this journey, feel the weight of unseen eyes upon you. Listen to the creak of floorboards in your empty room, the tap of branches against glass, not nature, but harbingers. The Ozarks are a graveyard of secrets, and Lost Hollow its darkest tomb. But beware, for in uncovering this tale you invite the shadows closer. They linger just out of sight, patient, eternal. Stay vigilant, listeners, as we peel back the layers of the sinister disappearance of the Lost Hollow clan. Erased from history, yet their chill lingers, a reminder that some voids hunger to be filled with you. Let the story unfold slowly, like mist parting to reveal horrors inch by inch. The clan's roots stretch back to 1812, when Jeremiah Hawthorne, Elias's great-grandfather, a debtor fleeing Tennessee's grasp, stumbled upon the hollow during a storm-tossed night. Lightning lit the valley, a fertile expanse sheltered from winds, fed by a constant spring gushing clear from a crack in the rock. Jeremiah saw divine providence, the locals' danger. The Osage, who hunted these lands for centuries, called it Wakon, Taw's Trap, a place where the Great Spirit ensnared lost souls, the ground alive with ancestral wrath. Undeterred, Jeremiah claimed it, felling trees for cabins, inviting distant kin to join. By mid-century, the clan had grown, their bloodlines intertwining like roots beneath their feet. Elias, born in 1840 during a blizzard that blanketed the hollow in silence, grew into the role of patriarch after his father's accident. A tree crushing him during a logging haul, or so the story went. Whispers hinted at foul play, a leadership dispute, but Elias silenced them with his steely gaze. He married Abigail, a woman from a nearby hollow, her skills in midwifery and herbalism making her vital. Together they bore Josiah, Eliezer, and little Ruth, each child embodying the clan's spirit: Josiah's ambition, Eliezer's intuition, Ruth's innocence. The hollow's geography deepened their isolation, cliffs riddled with caves that echoed oddly. The spring's waters said to heal, but also to spark dreams of the dead. Wildlife thrived: deer with antlers like crowns, foxes sly as spirits. But oddities abounded, albino creatures, birds mimicking human speech. As 1895 dawned, the clan seemed to flourish. Orchards heavy with apples, fields golden with corn, the air buzzing with bees drunk on nectar. Elias traded for innovations, a steel plow slicing the earth cleanly, fabrics from afar that Abigail wove into quilts with protective patterns. But beneath this surface, cracks formed. Josiah, 15, yearned for the wider world, his town trips filling his mind with tales of electric lights and iron horses. Why hide here? He'd argue, voice breaking with youth. Eliezer, 12 and ethereal, collected oddities, feathers that shimmered unnaturally, stones warm to the touch, claiming they sang of old times. Abigail noted her daughter's sensitivity, but Elias saw omens. Carvings appeared on trees near the spring, swirls and lines like Osage symbols, warnings or summons. Spring brought the first clear sign, a two-headed calf born under a blood moon, its forms twisted, eyes empty voids. The clan gathered, torches flickering, as Elias slit its throat, blood soaking the soil in a ritual of appeasement. Widow Thorn, the eldest, croaked prophecies. The land awakens. It remembers the theft. What theft? Jeremiah's journal hidden away hinted at it. Artifacts stolen from a mound, used to bind. The hollow's favor. Summer deepened, the uneasy tools vanishing, reappearing rusted, livestock straying into caves, bones later found in circles. Nights grew restless, the howler's cry, a mix of beast and banshee, drawing closer. Elias fortified the gate, but the hollow felt constricted, the cliffs looming inward. By late summer, vanishings began. Widow Thorn fetching water at midnight, her lantern swinging like a pendulum. A scream pierced the dark, cut short. Dawn revealed her shawl torn by claws, no body. Searchers delved into caves, torches lighting walls etched with faded pictographs, figures dissolving into shadow. Josiah, bold but reckless, saw lights orbs pulsing like hearts, whispering temptations. Two kin followed, lost forever. The clan turned inward, fear breeding suspicion. Elias consulted the book, its pages brittle, inked with chants. The pact demands renewal, it read. What pact? One of blood, perhaps, to quiet the spirits. As autumn loomed, the air turned crisp, leaves falling like accusations. The stage set for the hollow's devouring hunger to fully awaken. Step now into the intricate weave of life in Lost Hollow, where the clan's existence balanced toil, tradition, and the ever-present whisper of the unknown. It was March 1895, winter's final grip loosening, when the hollow stirred from slumber. Frost clung to grass like a veil, and the spring's waters ran cold, carrying a faint mineral bite Abigail swore tasted of buried secrets. Elias Hawthorne rose with the first grey light, boots thudding on the packed dirt path from his cabin to the communal fields. At 55, he was a pillar of strength, his frame shaped by years wrestling the land, broad shoulders straining against his homespun shirt, hands scarred from axes and plows. His beard, thick and streaked with grey, framed a face weathered like the cliffs, eyes missing nothing, always scanning for signs. "The mountains speak," he'd say, voice a gravelly rumble, but only to those who listen. Abigail followed, shawl tight against the dawn's chill, basket slung over her arm with seeds saved from last harvest. At 48, her hair was pulled into a practical bun, silver strands glinting like threads of fate. As the clan's healer, she knew the Hollow's bounty intimately: ginseng for strength, elderberry for fevers, bloodroot for cleansing rituals. "The earth provides," she'd murmur, her touch gentle on the soil as she planted, yet lately she felt resistance, as if the ground recoiled. Their cabin, the largest in the settlement, stood at the Hollow's heart, logs chinked with mud and moss, a stone hearth where stories were spun, a loft where their children slept. Smoke curled from the chimney, carrying the scent of oak and hickory mixed with Abigail's herbal brews. The settlement sprawled across the valley floor, a dozen sturdy cabins, each with a garden plot fenced against deer. Chickens clucked in coops, feathers ruffled by wind, while pigs snorted in mud-walled pens, rooting for acorns from ancient trees. The shared barn housed mules with patient eyes and cows, whose milk was rich as cream, the loft brimming with hay smelling of sun-dried grass. Children's voices broke the morning quiet. Eliza, with wild curls and curious gaze, chasing butterflies with iridescent wings, her laughter light as mist. At 12, she was the clan's dreamer, often found by the spring, dipping fingers into the water. Claiming it, told tales of the before time. Josiah, 15, was the firebrand, shouldering a man's work, muscles corded from chopping wood, mind ablaze with wanderlust. "P, when can I see the rivers that lead to the sea?" he'd ask, voice eager, eyes on the horizon beyond the cliffs. Baby Ruth, barely 2, toddled in the yard, chubby hands grasping wildflowers, cooing sounds that echoed oddly in the hollow. The extended kin animated the scene: Uncle Harlan, Elias's younger brother, a jovial soul with a thunderous laugh, his fiddle tucked under arm, ready to coax melodies at evening gatherings. Aunt Mabel, plump and practical, the midwife who delivered every child in the hollow, her apron stained with life's marks. The Thorns, old widow Thorn, bent but wise, her milky eyes sharp with lore, her son, quiet Thomas, a hunter whose arrows flew true. The Millers with their rambunctious brood, the Graves, stoic farmers with the best cornfields. They shared the labor, plowing bottomlands where soil was black and fertile, planting beans that climbed poles like fairy tale vines, hunting in woods where game was plentiful but wary. The creek, fed by the spring, meandered through, its waters clear enough to see trout dart like silver arrows. Trade was rare but vital each full moon. Elias and Josiah hitched the wagon for the grueling climb out of the hollow, the path narrow and strewn with shifting rocks. In towns like Jasper, they bartered furs, beaver and fox, soft as sin, for essentials: salt tasting of an unseen ocean, flour ground fine in water, wheel mills, calico bolts Abigail turned into dresses with protective embroidery. News trickled back: Spanish-American tensions brewing, inventions like telephones carrying voices across miles, the Chicago World's Fair a fading wonder. Foolishness, Elias would grumble, unloading sacks, the hollow is our world. But Josiah soaked it up, imagination ignited. Yet, even in this idyll, cracks emerged. Tools left in the barn rusted overnight, as if kissed by decades of rain. Fences mended one day sagged the next, posts pulled by unseen hands. Abigail's herbs wilted early, leaves curling black. Then came the calf in April, during a storm lashing the hollow with rain like tears from angry gods. Abigail midwifed the birth in the barn, lantern swinging, shadows dancing grotesquely. The creature emerged deformed, 2 heads fused at the neck, mouths gasping, eyes unseeing. The mother cow bellowed in anguish. "Destroy it," Elias ordered, knife flashing. They buried the remains under stones, Widow Thorn muttering incantations from her folklore, tales of the Gauro, a cave-dwelling lizard cursing births, or the Snorfus, A ghost deer heralding doom. The spirits test us, she wheezed, breath rattling. Josiah dismissed it as a fluke, but doubt crept in. One twilight, gathering firewood, he glimpsed a figure at the tree line. Tall, elongated, limbs like branches, eyes glowing like coals. It melted into shadow when approached, leaving barren ground, grass withered. Eliza's dreams intensified nightmares of an empty hollow, cabins rotting, voices calling from the depths. She sketched them in charcoal on bark, spirals twisting into faces, eyes wide with terror. Abigail soothed with valerian teas, but her own journal, hidden under floorboards, filled with worries. The spring runs warmer, bubbles rising like breaths from below. Something stirs. As May bloomed, anomalies multiplied. Harlan's fiddle, played at a spring dance, produced discordant notes, strings snapping like gunfire. Livestock vanished, a pig one night, found days later as bones in a pentagram near a cave mouth. Elias organized watches, lanterns burning through the dark, but the presence evaded. He delved into Jeremiah's book, a relic bound in leather from hollow hides, pages filled with diagrams. Symbols of containment, chants mixing English and Osage words. To hold the land, give of thyself, it advised. Elias pondered, fingers tracing ink, while outside, fog thickened, carrying scents of decay mixed with bloom. June's heat brought escalation. Thomas Thorne, hunting at dawn, didn't return. His rifle was found propped against a tree, barrel bent impossibly. Searchers pushed deeper into the woods, air humid and oppressive, insects swarming, echoes distorted, calls bouncing off cliffs in mocking repetition. Eliza claimed to see shadow people, peeking from caves, their forms flickering. Josiah, armed with a lantern, ventured near one entrance, its mouth yawning like a scream. Inside, walls glistened, air cool and fated. Lights appeared, willow, the wisps pulsing green, drawing him onward. Whispers teased, "Join us, boy. See the world below." He fled, heart pounding, but curiosity and fear took root. By July, paranoia gripped the clan. Gatherings turned tense, accusations flying. Who angered the Haints? Mabel wondered if her birthing rituals unbalanced life. Harlan stopped playing, his fiddle gathering dust. Abigail's remedies failed, illnesses spread, fevers burning without sweat, shared dreams among the sick. Elias, sensing the hollow's betrayal, set wards, salt lines around cabins, herbs hung from doors. But the spring betrayed most, its waters clouded, tasting of copper, inducing visions in those who drank deeply. Glimpses of Osage ghosts, faces painted for war, pointing accusing fingers. The clan teetered, their world shrinking as shadows grew. What ancient wrong had Jeremiah committed? The book hinted a burial disturbed, relics taken for power. The land demanded repayment, and the debt was due. The tale tightens its grip, the hollow's secrets rising like bile. The clan's harmony fractures further, and the horrors escalate. Hold fast, listeners, for the nightmare deepens. Autumn cloaked Lost Hollow in September 1895, leaves blazing in hues of fire and blood, as if the trees mourned what was to come. The clan, now dwindled to 20 haunted souls, clung to routines like lifelines. But the hollow had turned predator, its beauty a trap's lure. Elias Hawthorne paced paths at night, rifle slung over shoulder, footsteps crunching leaves that smelled of rot beneath their crispness. Sleep fled him, dreams haunted by Jeremiah's face, accusing, "You let it loose." Abigail, face drawn, tended dwindling gardens, harvesting pumpkins grown misshapen, faces carved by nature into grimaces. "The earth rejects us," she wrote in her journal, ink smudged by trembling hands. Josiah, transformed from boy to sentinel, sharpened tools by firelight, eyes hardened, resolve steeled. Yet vulnerability showed in quiet moments, holding Eliza close, her small frame shaking from visions. "I'll protect you," he vowed, but doubt gnawed. Eliza, pale and silent, spoke little, her drawings covering cabin walls, maps of the hollow with X marking vanishings, symbols swirling like whirlpools. Baby Ruth's cries pierced the nights, as if sensing the approaching void, tiny fists clenching air. The remaining kin whispered in clusters. Harlan, voice hoarse, recounting Erasure curse legends. Mabel, praying over beads strung from spring pebbles, the millers huddling, doors barred. Trust eroded, every shadow suspect. The hauntings grew bold. Cries rose from the cliffs at dusk, a cacophony of howls mixed with human pleas, mimicking the missing. "Help me, kin!" One storm-lashed night, Harlan, tormented by memories, stepped out, hearing his late wife's voice. He returned at dawn, eyes glassy, skin ashen, babbling in strange tongues. The erased demand tribute, blood for the taken. By noon, he was gone, his fiddle shattered, strings coiled like snakes. Footprints led to the spring, where water churned crimson, bubbles popping with sighs. Elias rallied the clan. Mew, face it together. He led a party. Josiah, Abigail, Thomas's widow, and others, into the largest cave, torches sputtering in damp air thick with mildy and a sweet decay. The cave's depths swallowed light, walls alive with dripping echoes like heartbeats. Ancient Osage drawings emerged in the flicker hunts, spirits rising, figures fading into nothingness, whispers slithered, intruders, thieves, erase. Josiah fired, bullet ricocheting, but laughter boomed, deep earthen. August snuffed torches plunging all into darkness. Chaos erupted, screams grasping hands, cold fingers brushing skin. When flames relit, 3 were gone, no trace but fading echoes. Survivors stumbled out, lungs burning, the cave exhaling behind them. Back in the hollow, horrors worsened, cabins groaned, timbers twisting, food molded in hours, maggots forming words. Repay. Eliza collapsed, fever raging, muttering of the eraser, a formless force unmaking reality. Abigail's treatments failed, the girl's pulse fluttered like trapped wings. Elias, desperate, unlocked the book's deepest secrets. Jeremiah's confession. In 1812, seeking fortune, he'd raised an Osage mound, stealing a chief's relics, bear claw necklace, sacred stone axe, to claim the hollow. The pact was a lie, the spirits, briefly bound, now broke free. Blood debt, the pages warned, with drawings of clans dissolved by shadows. Elias planned restitution, a midnight ceremony at the spring, relics returned with offerings, animal blood, apologetic chants. The clan gathered under cloud, veiled stars forming a circle, Elias's words vibrating the air. The relics sank, accepted. Silence held, hope flickered. But midnight struck, ground quaking, fog boiling from the spring-like breath. Apparitions rose, Osage phantoms, translucent yet vivid, war paint glowing, eyes abyssal. They encircled, not attacking but chanting, voices like wind through bones. One by one, the clan faded, shadows lengthening, forms blurring, screams dissolving into whispers. Mebel clutched her beads, vanishing mid-prayer. The millers clung together, erased as one. Josiah swung his axe, blade passing harmlessly, his cry defiant before dissolving. Abigail shielded the children, Ruth's wail cut short as they faded. Eliza's last words, they remember. Elias stood alone, facing the chief's ghost, feathers rustling without wind. Your line ends, it intoned, hand outstretched. Elias reached, then nothingness. Dawn broke on an empty hollow, cabins pristine yet lifeless, tools scattered mid-use. Outsiders, alerted by absent trades, found desolation. No bodies, no struggle, only oppressive silence. Investigations yielded nothing. Records vanished, memories blurred. The eraser had claimed all, history rewritten in absence. Yet whispers endure. Decades later, travelers reported oddities in similar hollows, lights, cries, a sense of being unmade. Perhaps the clan lingers, trapped in the curse's web, or the force spreads, erasing more. The tale leaves us questioning, is the hollow's hunger eternal? To grasp the chilling vanishing of the lost hollow clan, we must dig into the rich, often blood-stained layers of Ozark history, where fact and legend intertwine to weave a tapestry of unease. The Ozarks, spanning over 47,000 square miles across Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, are geologically ancient, their karst landscape riddled with caves, springs, and sinkholes shaped by eons of erosion on Paleozoic rock. By 1895, this region was a frontier holdout, resisting America's industrial wave, its hollows like lost hollows serving as natural refuges for reclusive communities. Native peoples were the first stewards. The Osage Nation, skilled hunters and warriors, dominated from the 1600s, their name meaning children of the middle waters. They saw the land as sacred, Springs as conduits to the underworld, caves as vision portals, burial mounds as ancestral repositories. Other tribes, Quapaw, Caddo, and later, Cherokee relocated via the 1830s Trail of Tears, added layers, their paths marked by sorrow and curses. The trail, a forced march, killed thousands, their unrest said to haunt the hills. European contact began with French explorers in the 1670s, but mass settlement followed the 1803 Louisiana Purchase, spurring displacements through treaties like the 1825 Osage Cession, stripping them of Missouri lands. Legends tell of shamans invoking spirit traps, curses to ensnare invaders, echoing our clan's fate. Settlers surged post-Civil War, Scots, Irish, Germans, and English from Appalachia seeking homesteads under the 1862 Homestead Act. By 1895, the Ozarks hosted small farms, timber operations, and lead zinc mining, but many areas lacked railroads until the 1900s. Communities like the Hawthorns were typical kin-based, self-reliant, growing corn, hogs, and orchards. Towns like Eureka Springs, founded 1879, thrived on healing springs, but deeper hollows remained hidden, fostering insularity and distrust of outsiders. Folklore flourished in this isolation, blending European superstitions with native mysticism. Yarb doctors, like Abigail, used herbs, sassafras for blood, willow for pain, with charms against the evil eye. Creatures loomed large, the Ozark howler, a horned beast with a panther-elk cry, the gauro, a tusked reptile eating livestock, the snorfus, an albino deer with blooming antlers, an omen of change. Haints, ghosts, were common, often vengeful natives or Civil War dead, appearing as orbs or whispers. Curses featured in tales like the Bell Witch spillover or local hexes, where wronged spirits erased enemies. Disappearances were frequent lore. Cavers lost in labyrinths like Marvel Cave, explored in the 1880s, or parties vanishing in woods, blamed on wild men or supernatural traps. In 1895, societal shifts loomed. The Panic of 1893 drove more to remote areas, while spiritualism's rise spurred seances, perhaps inspiring Elias's rituals. Native resentment simmered. The 1890s ghost dance movement echoed restoration calls. Our tale weaves these threads: desecrated sites triggering curses, isolation breeding hysteria, records lost in bureaucratic fog, real vanishings, like the 1880s, lost children of the Ozarks, or forgotten settlements erased from maps, lend eerie authenticity. The Ozarks' aura persists, with modern tales of lights in hollows, whispers in caves, blurring fact and folklore into unsettling truth. Was Lost Hollows erasure one of many, the land reclaiming its own? This cultural depth makes the tale not just chilling, but a mirror to historical wounds echoing through time. Beneath the tale's icy surface, the Lost Hollow clan's story reveals profound symbolic, psychological, and thematic depths, illuminating universal fears and humanity's darker facets. This is no mere ghost story. It's a psychological abyss reflecting our terror of oblivion, the consequences of cultural theft, and the fragility of identity in isolation's grip. Symbolically, the hollow is an archetypal enclosed space, a womb, like sanctuary turned devouring tomb, akin to mythic underworlds like Hades or the Celtic otherworld. Its cliffs are barriers against the outside, but also prisons, echoing Plato's cave where illusions bind inhabitants. The spring, life, giving yet tainted, symbolizes a poisoned heritage. Settlers' theft corrupting the source, blood in the water signaling inherited guilt. The eraser entity embodies amnesia, unmaking existence, mirroring how societies erase inconvenient histories, like native genocides downplayed in texts. Jeremiah's relics represent colonial plunder, power taken without consent, inviting retribution. The vanishings as dissolution evoke entropy, the clan's unity fragmenting like matter into void, shadows as the unconscious rising to consume. Psychologically, the tale taps Jungian shadows, repressed aspects manifesting as haints, the clan's isolation amplifying collective fears. Paranoia spreads like contagion, reflecting mass hysteria where perceived threats warp reality. Eliza's visions suggest the anima, feminine intuition piercing veils suppressed by patriarchal Elias. Josiah's rebellion embodies an aborted hero's journey, youth clashing with tradition's stasis. The curse probes Freudian repetition, generational trauma replayed. Jeremiah's sin-haunting descendants. Human hubris shines, believing dominion over land, ignoring its agency. Parallels modern ecological crisis where exploitation sparks backlash. Fear of erasure strikes existential chords. Sartre's nothingness, the horror of non-being in a forgetting world. Thematically, it ties to cultural trauma, the Ozarks as a palimpsest of displacements, the spirit's vengeance, a post-colonial haunting where the subaltern returns, subverting the colonizer's narrative. Universal fears resonate, the unknown in the wild, evoking Lovecraftian cosmic indifference, severed familial bonds, tapping abandonment anxieties. It critiques progress, 1895's modernity versus the Hollow's timelessness, suggesting technology erases traditions. Folklore's role as a mnemonic device carries intellectual weight, preserving warnings against forgetting roots. The tale warns of empathy's absence, ignoring others' histories invites one's own undoing. In our age of digital deletions and historical revisions, it haunts. What personal hollows do we inhabit? Shadows waiting. The clan's fate urges remembrance, lest we dissolve into mist. This analysis deepens the chill, making the story a lens on human frailty and the past's enduring power. As lost hollows' echoes fade into eternal night, we step back from this abyss, but the chill clings, a ghostly hand on the shoulder. The sinister disappearance of the Lost Hollow clan in 1895 endures as a warning spectre, the Ozark's unforgiving testament to forgotten wrongs and the void's insatiable hunger. Elias and his kin, once vibrant threads in existence's tapestry, now unraveled, their essence scattered like autumn leaves in wind. Was their erasure the work of vengeful spirits reclaiming desecrated earth? A product of isolation's madness, minds crumbling under unseen pressures, or a deeper cosmic jest where history is but ink easily blotted? The hollow may remain unmarked on maps, its springs still bubbling, awaiting the unwary. Modern wanderers report anomalies. Lights flickering in valleys, cries on breezes, a sense of being unmade. Perhaps the clan lingers, trapped in the curse's web, or the force spreads, erasing more. Reflect in the quiet hours. What lost chapters hide in your lineage? What shadows trail your steps, waiting to strike? The past is a predator ever hungry. Thank you for braving the darkness with me on the shadow behind you. Until we meet again in the shadows, remember the void watches, and it never forgets.